Discovery, and the shuttle has cleared the tower.
Hey, guys. Welcome to another interesting episode of Health or High Water. I'm with a special guest today, Lance. We're going to go through him real quick, but I need to thank our sponsors first. I need to thank the listeners. Thank you for liking, subscribing, and sharing, guys. You guys are making this podcast go nuts, and it's all thanks to you. You guys are hungry for some more health education. You're hungry to learn, and we're here to facilitate. Thank you, Colorado Labs. Thank you to You vs. You, our clothes sponsor. They're motivational fitwear. I'm wearing one right now. Absolutely love their clothes. Go check them out. My book is on Kindle and Amazon Prime, so make sure you go check that out. It's called Health Profiling. And we have some other sponsorships I am totally blanking on. Oh, O2 Boost, and I think I'm blanking right now. Coffee. Oh, the coffee. Yeah, Laguna's coffee. Thank you, man. Our guest just saved my bacon. Well, this would be a good time to introduce you. Lance, thank you so much for coming, man. How you doing?
Thanks. Good. I'm doing great today. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. I'm eager to get into your backstory a little bit. You and I have been talking for about a month or so, and you're the head football coach for Littleton High School right now. How'd you get in this position to begin with, man? What's your story?
Yeah. So I've been coaching since about 1987. Started at Inglewood High School with a guy who actually the stadium is named for now. His name is Randy Penn, and he was actually ended up being the mayor of Inglewood. So think about being a teacher and then a football coach and making such an impact on a community. He became the mayor. So I started his program with him in 87, took some time off raising my kids. We moved to Texas with a little company called Dell Computer Corporation at the time.
A little company.
It was small, yeah. But and then down there I actually learned how they were feeding football teams down there. So it kind of kept me going in a similar path, but then moved back to Colorado. Got involved with youth sports because my oldest son was his scoutmaster wanted him to play football, and I'm like, I don't know. So go out there and see this football coach, and he's got a playbook that's 3 inches thick, and they weren't teaching how to block and tackle. And I asked him, hey, can I just help you with your line? He's like, no, I got it. And then I saw he didn't spend, so I just did it anyway. Next thing you knew, 10 years later, I was running the Arapahoe Youth League, which was the biggest youth league in the state. And one of my mentors hired me at Regis Jesuit High School, and 26 years later, I'm running Littleton. So I've been doing it for quite some time.
Well, man, that's absolutely awesome. So you've been to all the top football states, Texas, Colorado,
Oh, yeah.
Those two states just eat football up, and some places in Texas take it almost as serious as a Super Bowl every Friday Night Light.
Oh, yeah. There's towns in Texas where the high school stadium is bigger than the D2 college stadiums here in the state of Colorado. Texas football is a way of life. Their football coaches, they make like six figures down there. They don't do that here in Colorado. Trust me.
Well, let's hope that changes for you here down the road. Maybe we can make some impacts to improve that. But so we're here to talk about youth sports today. We had a little conversation on the phone about it. We have kids that are not playing longevity. There's injury problems, parental overreach. We're talking about programs that are being canceled left and right. So where do you see youth sports right now, and what's the biggest problems you see as someone inside the industry?
Okay. Yeah, and I'm glad you had me here today, and I think it's important that we talk as a whole society and actually, even more detailed a community here in the Denver area, because, youth sports is fantastic. Don't get me wrong. I mean, just parents getting involved, getting their kids involved in something other than sitting in front of the TV and eating potato chips and playing video games is a good thing. And its involvement, it's like everything about it is right. But I think what we need to do as a whole athletic community is put things in the right buckets. And the challenges that we're having right now in youth sports is that even though there's this amazing involvement and everybody's, trying to do it, I think for the right reasons, they're putting the wrong emphasis, and they're putting it all into all-star teams. They're putting it into what's your win-loss record, and how cool do the uniforms look, and all this other kind of stuff. And they're not focusing, at youth sports, It's a time to fall in love with the game, whatever game you're playing, whether it's football or track or wrestling or judo, whatever it is, you should fall in love with the sport at that time. And this is where you learn how to work out. Okay?
Right.
This is where you learn how to exercise, and you learn about the very beginnings of how important it is to get your body in a place where it can continue to play that game. Because then in the high school level, that's where you learn, that's where you go from a youth athlete into the scholastic athlete. And the scholastic athlete has to include grades. They got to go to school. They got to do all the things that you're supposed to do. They got to be involved in the community. There's more to it than just the game. I always say it's more than a game. And this is the place where you actually learn the grind of how to be a competitive athlete. And then when you get into college, it's all about winning, and then in pros, it's all about winning. But I think we're putting that winning way down low, and we're making all these promises that say, hey, if you're in this year-round sport and you ruin your knees and you go after it in a different way, we're pushing these kids to try to win, and they burn out too early. And by the time I get them in high school, they almost come and look at me like, what kind of offer are you going to give me? And I'm like, guys, this is high school, you know. It's like you're going to have to take a pay cut to play for me.
Well, you and I love football, right? Like that's you and I felt like got along really well just because our passion for football and especially youth football. What kind of problems are you seeing, you know, with your team, the county football in whole as a sport? Because I feel like it's being attacked.
Yeah, it is being attacked. I think that, you know, society, you know, actually, you know, it's head trauma. You know, it's a contact game. It's a game that, you know, actually if it's played correctly, it needs to be a contact sport. You can't get away with it not being. You know, and they're doing some things to, you know, improve the equipment, you know, and so that you can play. But I think you're running into injuries from overuse, from people that don't really know all that you need to know. Are running the teams, and they're running the administration for the athletic clubs, and their focus isn't so much on what are we going to do to help these kids build their bodies up so that they can play. They just want to take it away. And I can tell you this, that as long as I've been doing this, there's a certain kind of young person that plays football, and I call them alpha. Yeah. Alpha male or whatever, you know, I know there's female football now, and I'm all for that. I love that. But, you know, these guys that are attracted to these most competitive sports that demand the most out of your body, and there's a lot of contact. I can see in second grade, and I look at a group of kids, and they're walking down the hallway at a school, and you can tell the guys are football players because they can't keep their hands to themselves. They're always pushing on each other. They won't stay in line. They're too busy. They won't sit on a piece of carpet all day. They've got energy. They got things that they need to do. And if you take this game away from them, that's going to come out, and it's not going to be positive. And we got to have these places for these kids to channel that, but you can't exploit it, and you can't take advantage of who those people are, because you got to take care of them too, right?
Right.
So, you know, that's why I think we have those challenges. I think there's challenges where, hey, when I ran the Arapahoe Youth League, we had over 275 teams. I don't even know if they got 125 teams. I think just the fear of head trauma and things that are happening to, you know, pro athletes and people, you know, Junior Seau, you know, looking at how his brain and, you know, all these challenges, they're making movies on it now, you know, and there's probably a time that a kid probably shouldn't be playing contact football. Maybe it should be younger. It should be flag, and then get up to 10 years old, you can start introducing it. You can't go into all-star teams that early. It's crazy. I mean, and then when they promise them, it says, if you put all this money and you do this thing, you're going to get a full ride scholarship in college. They don't know. They have no idea with a kid that young. So we need to just focus on keeping it youth, teach them how to love it, take care of their bodies so that they can have that contact, and, you know, minimize the injury. I mean, they're always going to hurt because it hurts, right? You get bruised and stuff, but we want to do things that will help these families target, hey, maybe my kid's got, maybe their knees aren't as good as the others, or maybe they got some weak legs and we got to build their legs up around their muscle. And I think that's where the focus needs to be down at the younger ages.
Right, like this it's almost like a discipline factor that's missing. Right? Like, hey, like, you know, the part of the game, they're not really loving it. And I do think it's more than just that, too. Like, we're talking about parental overreach, pressuring the kids to overtrain. You have overtraining, exposing certain predispositions for injuries.
Yep.
They're not recovering properly. They're going hard. It's turning into a job for the kids. And for me, like, I think, hey, just be a kid. Let them be a kid. Let them love the game. There is some safety factors that I'm glad you addressed. Like, let's have the kids start wearing guardian caps at 10, and during practice help reduce the concussions with that. There's some safety measures, but the value that, you know, especially you and I've talked about, you get out of this sport is invaluable. You know, this for football, and I'm going to talk some crap here about other sports. Is football is one of the only team sports that every person on that team, if they're not doing their job, you're screwed.
Yeah.
You are just as accountable, and it's almost like war. It's like, hey, the person next to me is accountable for me, and I'm accountable for them, so on and so forth. And for other sports, it doesn't seem just as much. Like, you're talking about a full-blown team sport. Everyone needs to be doing their jobs.
Yeah, on every single play, 10 guys' jobs to make one guy look good. I mean, if that's not a team sport, I don't know what is. I mean, you can't go out there and have the best dribble and the best jump shot and beat anybody on a football field.
Right.
Because if you don't have the line, you're not going to gain a yard. And vice versa. If you don't have a guy that can get through the hole when you make it, he ain't going to get a yard. So, yeah, you're right. And it's a team game.
And not just that too. It's not just the concussions and whatnot. We're talking about post-COVID life with, you know, like you said, like less. There's less leagues. There's less programs out there. And then on the backside, you're talking about all this pressure about getting into college, a full ride, and they're in the middle getting pressured on both sides. And of course they're getting burned out. Of course, youth sports are at an all-time low right now because we're trying to rebuild sports from COVID.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and I think, again, it's not – I don't think anybody intended to take it down this path, but I think we're struggling. There's certain communities that, you know, these communities, maybe they even moved there because there is such a backing for this is the way our athletics are going to be. And they're doing it right. But there's a lot of communities that are struggling with what that means. And you know, what I'm just hoping is that, you know, people really look at it the fact that, you know, don't take away things. Let's just make them better. You know, let's do what we need to do so that we can keep these kids involved and that they're having fun. I mean, at the youth level, they need to have fun so they fall in love with it. Otherwise, if they're being pushed so hard that they think it's a job already, I promise you they're going to burn out. And then make sure that they fall in love with the whole workout part. It's not so much like make a touchdown and taunt your opponent, because that's false. That's false masculinity stuff. That's video game crap. Okay, but what it should be more is like, if I work out really hard and I learn how to do these lunges with no weights, or I really work on these bands, or I really do these things, I can actually feel my body getting stronger. I have more agility. I'm faster. I can jump higher, and it doesn't hurt when I land anymore. And the more I do this, the better I get. And then I can get myself prepared to play for my local high school where I grew up with all my neighbors, instead of trying to pack some all-star team that never loses because they've got 22 D1 guys on the roster and the other squads don't.
Yeah, they're typically lopsided pretty heavy with some of those teams. They're like, these are grown men. Yeah. These are straight up grown men. Like in high school, like 300-pound linemen. You're like, what? Yeah. Like this is insane. So I know we talked about the community aspect of it too. What are some things that you think we can do as a community to help foster these youth sports? You know, we can talk about these safety issues and actually come up with solutions instead of, like you said, getting rid of them altogether. Yeah. What are some solutions that you've been kind of mulling over and stuff that we can do as a community to help?
Well, I'm pretty old school, and it's so cool that you and I got a chance to meet, and we have so much in common, and we're, probably 30 years apart. And but in your new school, I'm old school. When I ran the league in the Arapahoe Youth League, so I have a unique perspective. I was in the youth league, and I've been in the high school level now for quite a long time. Youth football was a 2-day-a-week practice. It wasn't every day. Okay?
Really?
Yeah, it wasn't every day. And so instead of saying, okay, oh, this is a bad game, maybe you're minimizing that impact how many times a week because there's only 2 practices a week. Then they go out into the games. Maybe somebody says, well, maybe that's not enough preparation. Well, okay, maybe 2 days of football practice and the other 3 days should be working out or doing other things. Teaching these kids to get together in the community and go help out people in a food hall or something like that. I mean, there's things that we can do. We can keep these kids involved. They can stand for something bigger than themselves because I believe really, truly, in total, those who use the game as the vehicle that it can be for a positive influence in their lives, they learn both confidence and courage. Confidence and courage, in my mind, is the magic dust that makes everything work. And even as adults, when people are struggling, they're struggling with their confidence and their courage. They get knocked down, and they don't know how to get back up. And what we're trying to teach these young kids at an early life is just that: how to get knocked down, how to get back up, how to take so many reps that you get better and you gain confidence and courage. If you're lifting and you're getting stronger, you walk with a different walk than other kids that don't. And quite frankly, with that courage, you get the confidence to step forward. You step forward, you do more. I mean, period. I mean, I think it's that simple.
Well, and what I love is that you're boiling it down to character development, right? Like, hey, let's build men. Let's build adults that are going to be productive as well as live a happy life too. Like we talked about channeling energy. Kids have a ton of energy, especially into adolescence. They don't know where to put it properly, and without these leagues and programs to express this physical feeling going on, like as you're growing up, we've all been there.
Yep.
It's a crazy time, hormones going nuts, and then you have nowhere to put this energy, and it's going to turn into bad things.
Yep.
It's like, hey, I'm going to go do something not right. I'm going to hang out the wrong crowd.
Absolutely.
And environment and community is huge. So everyone listening out there, like, youth sports are kind of in a rough place, and we've got to, like Lance said, go out and try to build a community, try to help this out because kids need an outlet.
They do, and I don't know how much time I got here, but I got involved as a football coach because it was my way to give back. And when I was a kid, I wasn't a great kid. I got in a lot of trouble. But I used the game. The game always kept me focused. The game gave me something that was bigger than myself. And I was able to channel that. And my way of giving back is trying to recreate that same environment for kids like me. And that they, you can't keep throwing them out of school. You can't keep taking these alphas that have too much energy and tell them, go sit on this little piece of rug when they're a little kid, because they can't do it. I mean, we got to find ways to keep them active. A lot of times in my life, what I've watched with kids, if you kick a soccer ball back and forth, these boys will start talking to you. But if you sit them in a classroom and then in a desk all day, they don't even say nothing. And they get frustrated, and then they start taking it out, and they start acting it out. So what I'm asking us all as community is look at these things that have been around for a long time, and let's keep these boys going forward, give them positive role models, and let's work on their bodies so that they can continue to go down this path. I mean, that's the easiest thing.
Yeah, let's work on longevity. Let's work on community and character development. I love it. So a little bit more about you. So you work Vistage, right?
Yeah, so right now I'm also blessed to, I've been a football coach for 30 some odd years. Over this last year, I also was an executive, a CEO. I've been in multiple executive roles throughout my life, and just this last year I migrated over to Vistage World Wide, which is the largest, oldest probably the most respected executive coaching organization in North America. We got 45,000 CEOs now in membership in 31 countries. And we help CEOs. I'm coaching still, but I'm doing it at the executive level. And we help CEOs with that very lonely job at the top focus on their role, and because they play an amazing part in our community too, because not only are they, successful and working hard and building companies, but they employ our communities. And in America, it's really about small to middle-sized businesses. That's who we are. And these are those guys, and we figure out ways to take care of it, because when the buck stops there, it's the only place it is. And the best place, the best tool possibly in the whole menagerie of tools for a CEO is a table of other CEOs that can roll up their sleeves and help each other out. And that's what I do. And I'm building a new peer advisory group here in Denver as we speak.
Well, I'm going to add all your backlink stuff too, like your LinkedIn, websites if you want me to, anything you want me to have. All of this will be on the bio of the podcast, guys. Make sure you guys go checking out. Go add him as a friend on LinkedIn. Lance has been incredibly amazing to Brett and I. We've had some awesome conversations. Our hearts both in the same place for youth sports, as well as where sports are going in general, and keeping people healthy no matter the age. So make sure you guys are checking Lance out on all different platforms.
Send your kids to Littleton.
Yeah. Get some recruitment going here. Let's get them winning a state championship next year. Also, make sure you guys are hitting up the games too. Go to your community local games. Support these teams. We need every little bit we can get. Youth sports are being attacked, and we're going to try to help build them up. Thank you guys so much for listening to this very special podcast. Again, thank you to all our sponsors. Thank you to our listeners. Like, share, subscribe. Tell your dog's friend, roommate's cousin, squirrel's friend. Anyone you can tell about this podcast, because every single download means we're helping more people. So thank you guys so much. Make sure you guys are tuning in on Friday for another special episode with a David B. We're doing some mental work. So guys, stay tuned. Lance, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Dude, no worries, man. I love these conversations. I love it when we're actually trying to come up with solutions too. We're talking about real world problems, and this is something that's we're both passionate about.
Yep.
And we're gonna fix it.
Absolutely. 100%.
All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for listening to Health or High Water.